Okay, so we're going to start part B for 13.6 is breastfeeding weakened bones. And we have the, we have the question, examine the data graphically and numerically. Write a few sentences comparing the change in bone mineral content for the two groups. So you should have already entered in the data for the two lists for breastfeeding women and other women. Please make sure that you have the breastfeeding women in list 1 and other women is in list 2. Okay, so the first thing you should do is graph histograms so you can see whether it looks normal or not. So they wanted you to look at things graphically. And you should see that the histograms look bell curved separately. So you should write that. Separately, histograms of the data for breastfeeding women and other women are bell curved. Alright, so our data definitely looks like it's approximating normally. Right? The next thing I want you to do is to do side-by-side modified box plots. And you'll notice that all of the data for the breastfeeding women is significantly lower than those for other women. So this is something you're going to have to address. So side-by-side modified box plots show 5 number summaries that are clearly less for breastfeeding women than other women. Okay, and then you can write down what you see. So we have breastfeeding women in one row, and we're going to have other women in the other row. Okay, and I know that the min is negative 2.2. The quartile 1 for other women is negative 0.4. The median is negative 0.05. The quartile 3 is 1.1. And the max is 2.9. I'm going to enter in the same data for breastfeeding women, which is negative 8.3 for the minimum. We have negative 5.3 for quartile 1, negative 3.8 for the median, negative 2.1, and 2.2 for the max. It'd probably be a good idea for you guys to actually write down what these values are if they were to be asking you this on the AP exam. Top 3. Okay. So the last question for part C is asking, can we conclude that breastfeeding causes a mother's bones to weaken? So this is going to be the rest of phantoms, which is ANTOMS, because we did pH in part A. Okay, and the conditions are going to be the next part. So we would have to assume that both samples of women are SRSs. Because we already did histograms for part B, you can state that since the histograms look approximately normal or bell-shaped, we can assume that the sampling distributions are approximately normal. And then our last condition is independence. So independence is satisfied since there are Oh, shoot, I just hung up. Okay, since there are at least 10 times 47, or 470 breastfeeding women, and at least 10 times 22, or 220 other women. Okay, I gotta extend the page. Okay. We can proceed. This is going to be the end part of phantoms. We can proceed with a 2-sample t-test. And the reason why I'm doing a t-test and not a z-test is because we were not given the population standard deviation. So rather than have a sigma that's going to be in our data, we're going to be putting in the sample standard deviation. Okay, so the next part is doing the test. So we have t equals. If you had done this on your calculator, you'd be using the 2-sample t-test, and all of the data is in there for you to use. So you would find that the sample mean for breastfeeding women was negative 3.5872 minus 0.3091, which is the sample mean for other women, and you subtract our hypothesis, mu1 minus mu2, which was 0. Okay, and this is all going to be divided by, the, I'm going to do this in pen, divided by the square root of 2.5056 squared divided by 47, and add the 1.2983 squared divided by 22. Okay, and this value over here is going to equal our test statistic is negative 8.4985. Okay, our p-value is going to be really, really close to 0, so I'm going to say that it is approximately 0. Okay, so if you see that that value in your calculator, it's going to have something e negative 4 or something like that, I will accept that that is approximately 0. Okay, so our last part is to make a decision. Okay, since our p-value is approximately 0, which is less than an alpha of, say, 0.01, we are statistically significant and reject our null hypothesis. The mean mineral content for breastfeeding women is less than for other women. Okay, and that is the entire problem. We have double-checked that you've actually addressed the question appropriately. You have everything in phantoms in here, and that is your entire problem.